Welcome back to the channel, and today we're taking a look at the Bestech Spear Phisher. This is a Todd Knife Tool design, and this one is definitely a departure from what we've seen in the past from Todd Knife Tool, and I gotta say, I like it. It's very slim and sleek, kind of that CEO style pocket knife, while being very elegant looking, and it completely disappears in the pocket. So you have this, I guess you could call it, drop point blade with a compound grind on it, as you can see there. You have a deep hollow grind here, transitions into a flat grind, and it's not gonna matter when you sharpen this, it'll just transition into there. So you have dual fullers on both sides, basically just for aesthetics, and you have a decently robust tip there. You do have some very functional jimping up top. It's very fine cut jimping, so it's nice and comfortable. It doesn't tear up my hands, and I love the way they did this right here, where you have a little spot to get right up to that edge if you need to do some fine, precise work. My opinion, this is a medium to large knife at 7.83 inches long with a 3.42 inch blade of Bowler M390 stainless steel. Has a nice belt satin finish on it. One thing that I noticed, I wish they would have given us a little bit better of a sharpening tool right here. I think after the first couple of sharpenings, it might start to flare out depending on how you sharpen it. If you just follow the factory bevel, then it may not. You might have a few sharpenings, but I wish that was extended up a little bit or pull the plunge back some. This hollow grind that comes all the way up to the top comes down nice and thin to around 12 thousandths behind the edge. And then this flat grind portion thickens up a little bit, but it's still nice and thin at 17 thousandths behind the edge. Let's see what it can do. Knife came with a pretty good edge out of box, and it has good edge geometry because this is a nice thin hollow grind. One thing that I really wish we'd start seeing from Bestech is thinner edge bevels. I measured this one, it was 26 degrees per side, and that's gonna make it not slice like it should. Now, after I finish this, I will probably lower the angle to at least 20 degrees, but it'd be very nice if we could get this thin bevel with a 20 degree edge, even nicer with the 17 degree edge. They just perform leaps and bounds better, and the slicing ability is just on another level in my opinion. But you know, this is a more office style carry. You know, I doubt you're gonna ever be able to be doing this type of stuff. You can do the cuts like this, it's comfortable, but it's a very narrow handle, so to keep it from spinning in the hand, you're really gonna have to bear down. My wrist and forearm started fatiguing right away because I'm really bearing down on it, and with that thicker edge bevel, it's just not slicing the way I would like it to. You can use the tip if you want. It is a little high, but you can still get down on things. It's a lot easier just to use that belly to do the drag cuts, but that belly is gonna definitely help whenever you do the flat cutting surface cuts like you're seeing now. It had a good enough edge to do all this, but the edge toward that flat grind is even thicker than the 26 degrees per side because it gets thicker right there. So it's a better performer behind that flat grind, and you know, it did well. It's not that it didn't, it just was not as enjoyable as something that has a, you know, a better slicing edge on it. Definitely something I've always thought Bestech needed to do. So we get to the 1/2 inch thistle rope, and it doesn't have the best bite to the edge. It has some bite, and it's not hard to do, but it would have been a lot easier if it would have had a little bit of toothiness to the edge, and you have enough belly to do it. But once again, where it goes into that belly is where it transitions into that thicker portion, and that makes the slicing capability kind of drop a little bit. But what, you know, like I said earlier, is this a knife you could be doing this type of stuff for? This, in my opinion, is something you keep in the shirt pocket to make a quick cut. You know, cut off some string on something, cut a piece of rope. You could use it for all this stuff, but it's not going to be the most enjoyable if you got to do it for a long period of time, doing it a lot of it. Breaking down a box, no problem whatsoever. Getting into a package, you know, all the things you do with a office style carry knife, it's going to be able to do those, and it's going to be able to do them well. With the 1/2 inch thistle rope, we get through 120 cuts, before I ran out of the rope, and like I said, it would have been a lot better if it would have had a thinner edge bevel, in my opinion. So y'all let me know what y'all think about that. Other than that, I like the knife a good bit. And when I'm done with this, I'll check the edge after, and the edge still feels good, but like I say, you just have to feel the, cutting like I am, knowing that it doesn't have this thin edge geometry to it. It just makes such a big difference in my opinion. All right, let's see how that edge is. It still has a good edge to it, but it's just a thicker edge. When it comes to the action on this knife, it is outstanding. As you can see, you have a very minimal flipper tab. It's one of these top flipper tabs. Excellent jimping up top, and it takes absolutely no thought. And being that this overlay comes over the top, you don't have to worry about putting your fingers on that lock bar. This thing comes rocketing out. It's riding on ceramic bearings with a ceramic detent ball. And the action, the closing action is nice and controlled. Very, very nice. And I have this one cranked down because it was almost a guillotine, so I wanted it to have somewhat of a controlled action to it. And yeah, it's very, very nice and satisfying. Check out these beautiful scales. You have several different inlay options. I think there's like 4 different versions. I have the marbled carbon fiber inlay, 3 little speed holes right there, Todd Knife Tool designer mark on the pivot. You have these concaved milled spots on the side right there. Gives it a nice visual effect. And I like how it tapers like that. At first it looked kind of funny, and I was kind of worried about the ergos, but as you can see in that testing, I thought it was very comfortable. The pocket clip stayed out of the way of my hand. And I talked to Zelric at Blade Show, and he said he did this like this for not just the ergos, which it feels nice the way it's set up, but also if you slip this in a shirt pocket, it's going to look like an ink pen. So you're going to see this rounded over like that. And, I think it kind of does. I don't think anybody's going to think this is a knife. So you can act like this is a shirt pocket and this is what would be sticking out. This looks like an elegant pen clip. It's got that concave section or, dished out section in the middle right there. Hopefully you can see that. And I like the way it's blind screwed, so you're screwed from the inside. The way they did this one is this screw right here goes straight through into the pocket clip. You have very minimal hardware showing. As you can see, you just have a Torx T8 here and your T8 pivot. Excellent job. And I love the fact that they put the inlay on both sides. So it's pretty symmetrical from side to side, as you can see there. You have a very small titanium backspacer. I like this little line, the ball groove they put in the middle. And it lets you see that blade is perfectly centered. That's always a risky thing to do. If their tolerances aren't tight enough, then you're definitely going to see that that's off because it's not the center of that. Being that you have all this tie milled out for the inlays, the carbon fiber inlays, and then you have these sections milled out here. You have no internal milling, but this is already a slender knife. So this thing is very, very lightweight at 69.8 grams or 2.46 ounces. That is excellent. Now let's take a look at the lockup. I'd say it's sitting around 30 or 40%. Then as you can see, you have those 2 nice chamfers on the frame side and on the lock side. And I find it to be very easy to get my thumb in there. The lock bar tension is not super strong or anything to where it feels uncomfortable. I can use the fat of my finger if I want. And this one's way more, like this thing doesn't have any play up or down, left or right. And I did not expect it to be as solid because it's such a slender knife. Now, if I wanted to torque from side to side, I could flex the blade and the handle, but there's no actual movement in there, so A-okay. As you can see here, it's smaller than the Ontario Rat 1, but it's larger than the Rat 2. And even though it's shorter than the Spyderco PM2, it has a little bit more cutting edge than the PM2. And it's longer than the Power 3. And lastly, we have the Hogue, Ritter, RSK, and Mini RSK. Now for my nitpicks complaints, I would have loved to see this sharpening tool a little bit larger or make this plunger grind go a little bit further back. It's probably not going to be an issue right away, but you know, after a few sharpenings, it probably will start to flare out. Now you can easily fix it because the stop pin is internal. And also, I didn't show that. I like how they have a little landing pad in the scales right here. And the only other thing that I noticed that I think would have been nice is instead of having the lock relief on both sides like that, just do it on one side. That way you don't have this little gap in the frame. But, you know, that's very, very minor. And overall, if you're looking for a slim, streamlined pocket knife that, in my opinion, looks really sexy and super lightweight, beautiful action, and is a really good slicer, then this might be a good option for you. These come in at around, I think these come in at $280. Definitely think it's worth that. And I love the fact that we have a new one coming from my good buddies, Seth and Zelric Todd of Todd Knife Tool. They got some other cool knives on the way. Can't wait. And if you're interested in this one, I will have it linked down in the description. It will be an affiliate link, so if you want to help support what I do here on this channel, that is pretty much the only way to do so. If not, no biggie at all. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, leave those down below. I hope everybody's having an absolute amazing day. I will see y'all on the next one.